Assalamualaikum viewers. Today I have a very special guest for you people, Nazim Aman Saab. He is joining us today. Thank you, Aman Saab.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saib.
Inshallah, we will be having a very fruitful talk. Let's begin knowing about the Assistant Professor Nazim Aman Saab. Yes.
Dr. Saib, thank you very much for inviting me for this session. I really appreciate it. To just my humble background, I am Nazim Aman. Basically, I'm originally from Hunza, Pakistan. I have been working with Karachi University for a couple of years, and I have also worked at different universities, including Al Khan University, including Education University of Hong Kong, Karachi International University, and also in different positions. So I have a master's from UK, London, and a PhD from Hong Kong, and I also have a fellowship from Hong Kong as well. I think being a student and being a professional, what I have really realized, what is of paramount importance, that if you have a commitment, if you work hard, if you have persistence in your efforts, somehow or other, it pays you off. So one of the examples is my own, a humble journey. Growing up in a mountainous region back, in the areas of Gilgit-Baltistan, we were never used to have, these kind of sophisticated facilities in terms of education, in terms of other so many things. But there was one thing, that there was kind of a desire, a profound desire for intellectual progress. So a profound commitment with the academic, achievements. Not only academic achievement, no matter, in whatever area a person is interested. So there used to be a kind of, a deep appreciation and a deep kind of, a commitment with your objectives, with the clarified objectives rather in life. So that played a vital role, in my humble journey, coming from a humble background, and then having a national, exposure, and then having an international exposure, and now, shukr alhamdulillah, that somehow or other I have tried to, have access to different international platforms in terms of my publication, in terms of my work experience, in terms of, working with people having different cultural, academic, social, and religious backgrounds. So all this happened only because of one thing, that is, if you have a commitment, and if you try to face the challenges and difficulties with a smile, so then you can always make a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very true. Let's talk about the journey which started in the metropolitan city, Karachi metropolitan city, when you came here from Hunza. So what are the challenges and the learning experience of yours in that journey?
Well, I think that's really, a fantastic experience. Right after, my intermediate, after doing my FSc from Hunza, let me share with you that Hunza is actually one of the wonderful, districts in Pakistan, where you can find almost 100% literacy rate over there. And there is actually, a culture of learning as well, right? So, very well, there is an African saying that it takes a tribe to bring up a child. So your environment, your society, it plays a vital role in setting the directions, in setting the objectives of an individual, right? And in the overall development of an individual. So from the very beginning, I was privileged, frankly speaking. I was intellectually privileged, I was culturally privileged to be the part of a community that encourages intellectual inquiry, that encourages, academic progress, that encourages, individuals to explore their uniqueness. No matter whether in the area of education, no matter whether in the area of, art, no matter whether in the area of, sports. So you may have heard, many, cases, from Hunza that people have achieved in different areas. This is only because of the culture of the area, that the people actually encourage. So I came to Karachi. I just want to mention about that background, because that background has also played an important role while addressing the challenges that I faced here in Karachi. So after my intermediate, I came to Karachi over here. There were different kinds of challenges. The first and firstmost challenge that, when you are a young guy and when you are away from your parents, from your home, from your area, somehow or other you start feeling lonely, right? So it creates a kind of a psychological pressure. And at the same time, you are part of a student body in a class who belong to different cultures, who already had wonderful academic exposure in different cities in terms of their good quality of education and all that. So you had to compete with them. That was another major challenge. So the third major challenge was, frankly speaking, that was economic as well. So having a background from a humble family, I was not financially that much, privileged in the sense of, for example, having a house here, having all those facilities, which otherwise a normal Karachite, would enjoy over here. So I can recall my first, day of arrival here in Karachi. I came to Karachi. I just got off the bus, in this area. What is that called? Just between Karimabad and the garden area there. So I got off the bus, and I did not know where I have to go. I had to go, right? The only hint that I had, I had was that one of my cousins, he was living, inside area of Karachi. So I knew the name of that place, Metroville. I can still remember, and sometime I will visit there. So I just asked, a rickshaw driver to, just take me to the Metroville. I went there. It was a surprise for them. A guy from Hunza, he, came. Back in 2001 and 2002, there was not as such the facility of, these smartphones and all that to remain connected and all that. There were used to be, only, these, the landlines, telephones, right? So I just, reached there, and then they were a little bit surprised, the guys, but however they welcomed me. So we were, kind of 5-6, young boys at that time. They were also studying in the different schools. Some of them were working in BCom, some of them were working doing BSc, and most of them, they were also working as a part-time jobs in different hotels, in different restaurants. That's how they used to manage their livings. I was comparatively privileged because my parents, my father, he used to send me a little amount which could hardly, which I was supposed to manage for the entire month, right? So anyhow, so the financial challenge was also, one of the biggest, the challenges, frankly speaking. But nonetheless, the good point that I felt, here in Karachi is, back then, I think now the conditions have completely changed in many respects. But back in, in the first decade of, the 21st century, from 2001 and onwards and all that, it was comparatively much better. In the sense of the security, in the sense of the overall transportation, because back then we used to get at least a good bus from our house to the university. Now it's very difficult to find even a proper a bus, right? You need to use either Chingchi, or you need to hire a rickshaw and all that. So but nevertheless, the good point was that I found good friends, although the conditions were very difficult. But there was a kind of a zeal in my in terms of achieving my objectives. I had, this passion that, look, I have A, B, and C, these objectives. No matter, what comes may, I need to achieve my objective. Whether, I had to compromise sleeping, whether I have to compromise my food, whether I have to compromise anything else, that's perfectly fine for me. Why? Because I was internally motivated. I was driven by, my internal motivation to achieve certain goals. And it was my deep conviction that no matter whatever conditions, that difficult conditions that you may have, if you have a commitment, if you work hard, there is always a way out. So and it worked like that. So I got admission at University of Karachi. I did my first graduation from Karachi University. And then I started doing my master's in public administration. By the end of the completion of my program, I was one of the brilliant students of the department. And even rather before completing my master's, I was offered with a position in the Space Agency of Pakistan in SUPARCO as assistant manager in grade 17. So the moment I finished my degree, you can say the job was ready there. It's not because that I was having a strong family background. It's not because I was having a, frankly speaking, the very strong economic background. The only thing that mattered was, working hard. One thing. Secondly, persistency. Working, constantly and persistently. Thirdly, working diligently. No matter, whatever work you do, a person should be giving, his or her level best to do the best thing, right? So these were some of the key things. And above all, I often remember, this phrase that, if you have challenges, if you have difficulties in life, instead of facing challenges and difficulties with sadness, with sorrowness, with frustration, let's face the challenges with a beautiful smile. If you face a challenge, if you face difficulties with a smile, that means actually you start believing in yourself that actually you can overcome this. Once you remain in this frame of mind that you can address the challenges, you can overcome, you can surmount challenges, that means 50% of the challenges are already resolved. So believing in oneself, always being optimistic, always working consistently and diligently. So these are some of the key characteristics that I believe that our youth, our generation, they need to uphold.
Yes, very true, and very inspiring journey you had. Okay, let's move ahead and we talk about your first journey in abroad, that is London.
Yeah.
So let us know more about in which studies you were enrolled, and how was your learning journey, and what were the challenges over there?
Well, yeah, that is also equally interesting. I was working with the SUPARCO agency Pakistan, and I was looking for some professional grooming and opportunities, some scholarships and all that. Luckily, I came across an advertisement that back then the Karachi University Institute for Study of Muslim Civilization, it was offering a scholarship for master's program in Muslim cultures. That program primarily it was meant to develop intellectual and professional leadership from across the Muslim societies, from across the world, right, from the different countries of Muslim societies, including Turkey, Pakistan, Iran, Syria, Tunis, in all these countries where there is a majority of the Muslim population. The objective was to choose, to select the best from these countries and prepare them intellectually to take academic lead positions. So when I came across that advertisement, I was very much enthusiastic, and I applied for that, and there was a very competitive kind of a process that we had to go through, a written test, an interview, and of course there were a number of candidates from different countries. So back then I was privileged, frankly speaking, again, that I was only one candidate from Pakistan. Only one male candidate from Pakistan. There was another, two another girls. They were from Pakistan also. But I was the only male candidate from Pakistan who qualified for that program. And we were only 18 people from across the world. Only 18 people were selected. So I was among those, 18 candidates. It was very challenging again. But nonetheless, when we arrived in London, there was also, kind of a second transition of my life. The first transition was from a kind of a, semi-urban, kind of a rural area to a cosmopolitan city. Now from a cosmopolitan city to an internationally recognized another cosmopolitan city, where you can find people from, across the different corners of the world, from the different countries, right? So, again, the one of the major challenges was a kind of, when you go into a different country, having a different culture, sometimes it becomes challenging to accommodate with that culture. On the one hand, you need to keep your own identity, and on the other hand, you need to adjust with that environment as well. So it actually needed the level of flexibility. So one of the key characteristics that I learned that in order to survive, in a competitive world, in a world which is full of diversity, in a world which is full of plurality, that you need to be flexible. Without being flexible in your ideas, without being flexible in your thoughts, without being flexible in your actions, without being flexible, in whatever things that you do, that you cannot really survive. So the rigidity cannot pay you off well. You need to understand, the other people. You always need to keep your mind open for alternative perspectives. We should not be fixated with our own understanding of the issues. We should also need to appreciate, look, I mean, people can look at the world in different ways. People can, survive, people can spend their lives, through different ways. So there are multiple cultures, there are multiple, civilizations. So people would be looking at the world from their own angles, right? So, and once you get an opportunity to interact with these kind of people, then it helps you appreciate the importance of tolerance. It helps you open your mind. So the good thing that I have learned in London, consciously or unconsciously, actually, it helped me appreciate the beauty of human diversity. It helped me appreciate the beauty of human plurality. It helped me appreciate the beauty of being inclusive in your approach. It helped me, appreciate the fact that without being flexible and inclusive, you cannot open your mind. Sometimes, having exposure to people having different cultures teaches you so much that you become so much, kind of an open-minded guy, having the capacity to accept the opinions of the other people whom you do not agree. And that's what actually we need, here in Pakistan, that no matter whatever ideas you have, you should be having that capacity to listen to the others. You should be having that capacity to appreciate that there can be multiple views, there can be multiple perspectives, of anything, of where there may be multiple ways of looking at the world. And that's what makes us beautiful as a humanity.
Yes, thank you very much for sharing your views. Then you had a journey of masters in England, and after that the next journey of the education, if we talk about the PhD. The PhD program you chose in Hong Kong. You were chosen. You were given a scholarship, I guess, and you went to Hong Kong. So in the Hong Kong is, if I'm not mistaken, it is one of the fastest growing economy. Plus they are very much fast paced and very much at the top across the world even. So how did you find their education system, and how was your learning experience over there?
Well, you see, sir, yes, I did my PhD from Hong Kong, from the Education University of Hong Kong, and again, I had an opportunity of, doing kind of research fellowship there with the same university. You see, Hong Kong is the meeting point of East and West. I'm not talking geographically kind of meeting point of East and West. I'm talking about, the Hong Kong as being a meeting place of East and West in terms of culture, tradition, science, technology, and knowledge production. On the one hand, you can find in Hong Kong, the prints of the Eastern cultures and civilizations. Of course, they have a very strong linkage with the Confucius tradition. They have their own history. In a way, you can say that they are representative of one of the dominant civilizations of Eastern, the regions of Asia. And on the other hand, I call it the meeting point of East and West, because intellectually, professionally, you can find the developments in Hong Kong equal to the developments which you realize in the most of the Western countries in terms of infrastructure, in terms of their educational system, in terms of their healthcare, in terms of rule of law, in terms of the justice system. And there are so many other things which are, in other words, you can say that, in today's world, there is a debate about the very idea of modernity, whether there is a singular form of modernity or there can be alternative models of modernity. So Hong Kong is an illustrative example of how, multiple forms of modernity can be, practiced, can be seen in different contexts, where on the one hand you may be preserving your culture, your tradition, your history, and on the other hand you have actually embraced all the modern developments in science, technology, and in other areas. So my experience in Hong Kong is that I like one thing, I mean, of course, I like many things about Hong Kong, but one of the key things, in Hong Kong is their education system, especially their schooling. Right from the school, from the ECD level, from early childhood education development and onward, to the primary, to the secondary, to and onward, their schooling system is of one of the best educational systems of the world. Especially the primary, they emphasize too much at primary level. Of course, they do emphasize at higher secondary, they do emphasize at the tertiary level, at university level education also. But their priority, you would be amazed to see the kind of education that they do provide at primary level. They try to build those the bases from the very beginning. That's one of the good points that I have realized about the Hong Kong. Secondly, they do not compromise on merit. Teaching is such a profession where you would find the best teaching over there. And the teachers, they are also paid in the same manner. It's not unlike Pakistan, it's unlike other developing countries where generally teaching is considered to be a profession of second or third, level of preference and all that. But in case of Hong Kong, the teachers are being paid very well. That's why the competent people, they prefer to go in the field of teaching. Whether at primary level, whether it's secondary or higher secondary, and blah blah. And also one more thing that I liked about Hong Kong is the very idea of they do not try to stratify society into different sections, right? I mean, it's not about that. I mean, a teacher is equally respected, just like a police officer would be respected. But in some cases, teachers are much more respected than other fields. Whereas in Pakistan, an assistant commissioner, he would be kind of a small king of his area, and a teacher, a professor would be treated differently. This is unfortunate. It's unfortunate because it shows the overall attitude of a nation towards education. So the attitude of the Hong Kongers towards education is very positive, very progressing. And likewise, the rule of law. I mean, the law is law. I mean, nobody is above the law. There are certain rules and regulations you have to follow, whether you are the chief executive of Hong Kong or whether you are an ordinary person. So the law will prevail. That is another beauty. Thirdly, they are now trying to become more diverse. They are trying to become. Of course, it does not mean there are no issues. There are issues in Hong Kong as well. There are issues of cultural assimilations. At some level, people say there is a kind of a latent racism is also over there. I mean, as we can see that the same, racism in most of the Western countries also. But that is a big challenge. The good thing is that the authorities do realize that these are the challenges, and we need to address these challenges by appreciating diversity, by being inclusive in their approach, and by valuing merit. So challenges are there, but at the same time, the good thing is that the policy or framework is such that they try to address those challenges. So and I believe that Hong Kong could be one of the examples that we can learn from in our education, in our justice system, in our infrastructure development, and in so many other areas. We can learn so many things from them.
Okay, great. So you went twice to Hong Kong.
For two different programs, in other words.
Yes.
Although not only twice, maybe 3 times, 4 times, 6, 10 times, I don't know exactly.
Yes.
I didn't count.
So purposely you went twice, once for PhD and the other is
for research fellowship.
For research fellowship. So great. Just last question I would like to pose to you is, what are the youngsters' good values you have observed in the foreign societies, specifically in Hong Kong and in London? What are the specific qualities you have seen and you wanted to adopt somehow, or you want others to adopt, so that they may excel better than the common person?
You see, one of the good things that I have realized in the, especially the younger generation in Hong Kong is that they respect each other. They will not interfere into your personal privacy. The good thing is that no matter whether you are a boy or girl, you are safe. You are safe because people have this sense of respecting each other. One thing. Second thing, the Hong Kongers, they actually did not compromise on their cultural values. They are very progressive. It's developing one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Yet you will find, the youngsters holding their, cultural values, norms and values and all that. Unlike the Western societies. I mean, it's not that after, 18 साल के आप हो गए, उसके बाद आप अलग हो गए पेरेंट्स से, जिस तरह वेस्ट के अंदर डोमिनेंट एक ट्रेंड पाया जाता है. You will not find like that over there. So it shows actually you can progress, you can develop yourselves without compromising on the core values of your culture. Without doing compromising on the core values of culture does not mean then you become rigid. You need to have the space to appreciate the others. You need to have the space to celebrate their diversity. So the good thing is that the youngsters, they celebrate it. They celebrate diversity. They celebrate people, having different cultures and all that. Nonetheless, again, as I said, having said this, it does not mean that it's a completely a perfect society. No society could be a perfect society. Every society has its own challenges, its own issues. As I said, one of the basic challenges that, that I felt that Hong Kong is going through is latent racism. They would not openly manifest, they would not openly express about that, but somehow or other I felt, there are waves of, latent, racisms which are operating, beneath different structures, beneath different processes and all that. But anyhow, as far the youth are concerned, they are working hard. One of the greatest qualities that I have observed in the people of Hong Kong is, believe me, no matter you are young, no matter you are kid, no matter you are an old guy, they are working so hard. I mean, it may not be a platitude or an exaggeration if I say that they are the most hard-working people that I have ever seen on earth. So they work so hard. In any field they work so hard. They fulfill their responsibility. They fulfill, their frankly speaking, their commitments. So there is a rule, there is a law, people are following that. But the good thing about everything, all is the fact that they are working so hard. And I like that quality, whether they are youth, whether they are, the youngsters or the old people. That's one of the things that perhaps, we need to adopt, that, they are not wasting their time. Of course, they enjoy. It does not mean they have a system. They are, within the schools there is a system, of learning, of, playing, of, enjoying life and blah blah. Those systems are over there. But the good thing is that all these systems are connected by one component, that is the people are, very hard working. And that hard work has paid them a lot. It has paid them a lot. That is the good thing.
Okay. Let's talk a little about the London-based society which you have observed. You just talked about the Hong Kong-based society. So let's get to know about the London-based society. How the youngsters over there, and what do you think? What is their comparative edge? How they are?
You see, sir, we need to understand one thing. When I was in London back in 2010, 9, 10, 11, something like that, back then London was comparatively much more inclusive. It was pluralistic. Of course, it is still diverse. But with the rise of this populist nationalism in Europe, especially after Brexit, when the UK, England, they took the exit from the European Union, and the rise of right-wing politics in Hungary, in most of the European world, and even the rise of this right-wing politics in US and all that. So all these things, they have negatively impacted now the overall environment of Europe. Not only of UK, but also the overall environment of Europe, that we need to first appreciate. There is a kind of a tension between nationalism and globalization. There was a time when people were celebrating multiculturalism, but now people are confessing the failure of multiculturalism in these areas. That's one of the biggest challenges. Secondly, the youth, especially with the rise of this, social media, and all that, the rise of, with this, TikTok culture and all that. It's very unfortunate that I have come across many studies where, people have reported that now people tend to find, the jobs which are more luxurious, which are more comfortable. And let me tell you, that would be disastrous for, any culture. If people try to find shortcuts, if people try to avoid working hard, if people will not, pay attention to the areas which require your due attention, then, that society actually deteriorates. When I was there, it was different. But now I can say, although I have not been to London for many years, but since we are connected globally, right, so we can see all these developments. So now I can, say that it's unfortunate that London is changing not in a positive way, changing maybe perhaps in a very much challenging manner. So as far, the youths are concerned, they are privileged, most of them. Privileged in terms of having good quality education, privileged in terms of having, good health care, and privileged of course in terms of having a social security, privileged in terms of having, some comparatively better job market. But again, it's up to the youth that how they do prepare themselves. You see, take the example of India. In India, most of the youths, they are involved, in this in the field of, computer technology and all that. So while staying at home, they are earning enough. They are making a difference for their country. No matter, my understanding is that no matter whether you are living in Pakistan, living in India, living in UK, in Hong Kong, wherever do you live, right? The good thing is that because of science and technology, now the world has truly become a global village. So if you are committed, guy, if you are a hardworking guy, if you value merit, if you develop competence in yourself, the world is yours. So there cannot be an excuse that, look, I am from this region and that's why it's happening. No. Now, somehow or other, we are all exposed to this global culture. I mean, all of us, we have access to, this mobile. Through this mobile, you have access to almost to the entire, although, of course, nowadays we are facing the challenges of this internet in Pakistan, which is very unfortunate that people do not realize how it can negatively impact our, life in terms of, research, teaching. Mostly people, they identify only, the negative impacts on economy. The basic negative impact that it is creating is on your teaching and learning, is on your research, is on your economy, and so many, of course, other things, right? Of course, I mean, I hope that someday, the people making decisions, they would think about this decision, which according to me, is a kind of a disastrous decision. So, but the good thing is that, we are now the part of a global market. So if you have that competence, if you have those knowledge, skills and aptitude required to survive in a global market, then the world is open for you. So there cannot be an excuse because of X, Y and Z I could not progress. No, the only thing it requires is commitment, persistency and hard work. That's what I can say.
Thank you very much.
Bahut shukriya. Thank you, Dr. Saib.
It's really a privilege and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you very much.
You have shared your wonderful experience.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
not especially the experience of local learning plus the foreign experiences as well.
Thank you
very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.